Hey, welcome back. I'm Chris Raynor. We're here at Henderson Drive at the Gold's Gym. We're with Matthew Modine having a conversation with Full Metal Modine. That's the name of his art exhibit that we were just talking about. Matthew, of course, has starred in several through some of them, kind of get his take on some of his parts. But
several movies. I've been in
several
over
movies.
100 movies.
Well, several can be anything from 4 to a million.
Oh, it could?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Tons of
Tons
movies.
of
We'll
movies.
call that. Tell them about a little more about your exhibit. First, the name.
Full Metal Modine.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah.
Full Metal. I don't know who came Full Metal Modine. I actually, it was at the Draft House movie theaters. They did a retrospective of about a dozen of my films, and they called it Full Metal Modine.
Full Metal Modine.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, let's look through the hundreds, the tons of movies you've been through, and of course these would be some of the ones that popped up. You know, the main ones. I didn't realize you were in Any Given Sunday.
Yeah, I was the doctor.
That's one of those movies I've seen parts of. I've never seen the whole thing, but now I have to go back and watch it.
Yeah, there's everybody's in that movie.
Oh, yeah.
You know, from Dennis Quaid to Al Pacino to James Woods. I mean,
A lot of the athletes you don't recognize.
Yeah, that was fun. Lawrence Taylor, I'll share that with you. Lawrence, he said, you know, Matthew, I never went looking for trouble, but it always found me.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he was trying to stay sober while we were making that film. And if we were filming till 4 o'clock in the morning, he'd go straight from work to 12-hour, 14-hour day and go to the golf course just to like what we were talking about before with sports, of just trying to stay focused,
trying to decompress a little.
Yeah, trying to stay sober. And sometimes he'd go around the 18-hole course twice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, he was super athlete. Now, you talk about somebody that changed the game of football.
Yeah.
He did.
Yeah, the football players that were working on the film, they said that they would look at the schedule to see when they were playing the New York Giants, because they knew if they were going against Lawrence Taylor, that the hardest hit that they ever got in Pop Warner in high school and college, that Lawrence Taylor hit the hardest hit every single time.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that he just was different level.
You talk about a player with a motor, and obviously, he had his drug problems that might have amped him up a little bit, but if you ever get a chance, go to YouTube. I had a video called Stranglehold, the song by Ted Nugent.
Mm-hmm.
Are you familiar with that song? Mm-hmm. And it's Lawrence Taylor set the Stranglehold. Unreal, the highlights. He was just, half the hits you were looking at, you're like, okay, that's illegal nowadays. You can't do that anymore.
Yeah.
All right, let's roll through some movies and kind of get your take on some of your parts.
Okay.
What was your first part? Obviously, you probably some plays, some other stuff, but first motion picture part.
First motion picture part was Baby, It's You. It was the first motion picture of Robert Downey Jr., Fisher Stevens, Rosanna Arquette, and that was it. Baby, It's You.
And then I've got the first one listed on Birdie.
Birdie.
And you were actually up for an award for that, weren't you?
Yeah, we won a prize at the Cannes Film Festival, the Grand Prix they call it.
Mm-hmm.
But I personally I didn't receive a best actor nomination, but that movie changed my life. That movie opened all the doors.
Okay, actually, I'm sorry. The one I was thinking of with the award was Streamers.
Streamers.
Yeah.
Yeah, Streamers came before Birdie. Streamers is a bunch of guys in the Army at the beginning of the Vietnam War, and they're starting to ship kids overseas to go fight in Vietnam, and these guys don't know what Vietnam. They never heard of it. They just joined up, for school, for education, from going to jail.
Had no idea what they were in for.
Had no idea what was
a whole different world.
Yeah.
Now, you've obviously been in several military films, Streamers, of course, Full Metal Jacket, Memphis Belle. What are some of the other military themed films? That's the three?
Yeah. Birdie is
right.
Yeah, Birdie. He's suffering with post-traumatic stress. Before we had that term, both characters are. Nick Cage's part, so he's been physically wounded, and Birdie's been mentally broken down by the war. And the idea in the story is that maybe the physically broken one can help the mentally damaged one, and together they'll be able to fix each other.
To relate on different levels.
Yeah.
All right, and then of course you got Vision Quest, one of my favorites.
Yeah, Vision Quest.
Just run through the story. You know, we know it, but run through the story for everybody. Linda Fiorentino, which gets mispronounced probably more than any name out there.
Yeah.
Call her Florentino, but Linda Fiorentino.
Yeah, it was her first film.
Yeah, and she was basically a drifter that your father in the movie took in and changed her as the character, of course.
Yeah, he falls in love with this girl who's on her way to San Francisco to be an artist, and I don't know why she was going the northern route to get Spokane, Washington, to get to San Francisco, but
sometimes you can't use geography in the movies because it just doesn't.
For me,
relate.
she's just hitchhiking, and that was the route that the driver took her.
That's the last place.
But
she got
Linda
dropped
Fiorentino,
off.
she was amazing. There was a moment where I thought, because I'd already gotten married, and I thought maybe my wife was going to stab her, because she was talking about that she hadn't had sex in several weeks, and by the time we got to the sex scene that was going to take place in the film, that another 6 weeks would have gone by, and she was going to be, like, what was
what a statement to make.
Yeah. Who was it? That Cat Scratch Fever. Who is that? That Cat Scratch Fever.
The song?
Yeah.
Ted Nugent.
Yeah. That she was going to sort of be like that, and my wife was sitting across from her at the table, going like, "I'll cut your heart out."
Did she give dagger eyes?
Yeah.
All right, and in the movie, of course, you win the state championship, which is right up your alley.
Yeah, it was amazing. It was all the kids in the movie were state champions, and it just was a movie that helped me. And it's like going through boot camp, and because every day we did 3 a days. We'd come in, we'd do wrestling. Then we do weight training, and then cardio. Going out for long runs
to make sure you look the part.
Yeah. And as I say, because all the kids were state champions, they kept me honest. And every time I'd start to get a little heady and think that I could take them, they'd put me in my place.
Yep.
Yeah.
And not everybody can say that movie with Madonna.
That's right. And Madonna was before.
Was she very approachable? Was she very cool in the movie?
No. She was there probably for 6 hours.
That's it, just for the scene.
Came in, sang in the club, and left. And it was before Virgin came out. By the time the movie opened around the world, they changed the title from Vision Quest to Crazy for You, because that was the big hit for Madonna.
Number one hit for her from the movie. So, and you talked about the soundtrack. There was other great. Journey. You had all the iconic songs that you listen to now, and you're like, man, music was so great back then.
It really was. Yeah. Who said it? The Stephen. What's his name? Stephen. I can't give his name. He said in those days we were musicians who did drugs. Now there's people.
Steve Perry?
No, not Steve Perry.
Steve Tyler?
It's Tyler.
Okay.
Yeah. In those days, the musicians did drugs. Today, people do drugs and call themselves musicians.
Yeah. With auto-tune. Yeah. One of the things I like most on Facebook, you see that thing, it shows Steve Perry singing with Journey, and it says, "This was talent before auto-tune."
What a voice.
Oh, yeah. And it's a shame they never got back together.
Yeah.
Obviously, it had to be something bad for that not to happen with all the offers they had. Then you go to Full Metal Jacket. Obviously, relate the whole story all the way through. We've talked about some of the scenes, but just kind of give everybody the story. If they've never seen it, they need to see it. It's just a classic movie.
So you follow these recruits from the moment they're getting their haircuts, going through boot camp. It's not very long. I think probably the boot camp sequence in the film is 30, 35 minutes.
It's tough, though.
Yeah. People think the film is divided into 2 pieces. It's actually divided into 3 parts. It goes up to the attack on the city of Hue, and then it goes into another chapter of the film. And so you go from boot camp, and now you're following these kids through war, through the Vietnam War, all the training that they've received. And the dark irony of the story is that they're taken down by a young Vietnamese girl with an AK-47. That with all of the American might and military weapons that were available to them, that they could be.
That weakness gets them.
Yeah. That just a young Vietnamese girl with an AK-47 and maybe some rice around her.
And it's so weird how it goes from that tough scene in the latrine straight streets of You know, what was the
It was
town?
supposed to be Da Nang.
Da Nang, okay.
Yeah.
And you have the
Street prostitute.
The street prostitute who is forever immortalized in music now.
Yeah.
You know, well,
Me
call
So
it music,
Horny.
Yeah.
Me So
Two
Horny.
Live Crew, the song. You know. Now on that part in the song, do you guys dialogue pick up any in the song, or is it just all they pull it straight from her?
They pulled it straight from her.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was probably the first movie that got sampled.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Oh, Me So Horny.
Well, is that people heard, but you can't hear on the radio, obviously, just because of the
Really?
nature of it. Stuff. It wasn't much on the radio.
Yeah.
I don't think we were allowed to say horny on the radio.
Oh.
But, it's okay though.
Today you can.
Well, I guess so. Yeah.
Yeah.
You said it first, so I'm gonna go with that.
I think you can. I mean, well, we're not talking about something sexual. We're talking about a horn on the front of a rhino.
Right. Exactly.
So a rhino is very horny.
But that scene, like you said, was sampled in the song, though. It's forever ingrained now.
Yeah.
Married to the Mob. You went in a little different direction there after that.
Yeah.
Is that your only mob movie?
Yes, the only mafia movie. It was a comedy. Michelle Pfeiffer was obviously like a huge, you know,
The star.
And I just seen her in the Al Pacino movie Scarface, where she was just stunning and just really beautiful. She was addicted to cocaine and a really interesting character. So she was doing this comedy, Married to the Mob. And, Jonathan Demme was a really terrific filmmaker. He died too young, and they invited me to participate. And
It was a cool little movie.
it was very.
Did you enjoy doing the project?
Yeah, it was really fun, and it was in New York City, so it was the first time I'd ever been able to stay home and sleep in my own bed and go to work.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Now, was that the one that you cycled to mostly? Like you would ride your bike to? I've heard the story. There was some. You cycle a lot around the city. You didn't like the extra transportation.
You know what it was
Huge, bicycle.
when I was auditioning, to be able to get from one side of town to the other side of town, when I couldn't afford a token, I couldn't afford a subway token, so the bicycle was a mode of transportation to be able to get from one place to another. But in addition, instead of being able to do maybe 2 or 3 auditions in a day, I was able to get 6 or 7 because
you could get around.
I could get around quickly, and that was really, you know, bicycle really changed my life. As I say, I use it for transportation, not exercise and luxury or going sightseeing.
Yeah, it was just utilitarian. Yeah.
Utilitarian.
All right, well, we're going to take a commercial break. A lot of people here want to see you real quick. On our break, we're going to let them catch up with you a little, and we'll be right back with Matthew Modine.
Okay.
We're back. Okay. Back here with Matthew Modine at Gold's Gym on Henderson Drive. Still some time to get down here. He'll be here till about what, 9:30. We got to take off because we're going to talk some more here. If you want to come get some autographs or their picture taken with a world famous movie celebrity, you know, that's awesome. Though. I mean, do you love that lifestyle?
Well, it's how often you have a job where people present their best self to you. You know, that they come up and they say, hello, how are you? And you do your work. And so
True.
what the people always present to you is their best self. You remind them of something that was a good moment in their life,
Yep.
or something joyous in their life. So it's just a blessing to be able to have a job doing what you set out to do. I take the job pretty seriously. That I know that when I come into people's homes on television, or get projected larger than life onto a movie screen, or stage, and have people look up at me, that the things that I do and the things that I say will have an impact on people's lives. It'll leave an impression on them. So one of the greatest roles I've ever had, I was in England last year for almost a year doing playing Atticus Finch and To Kill a Man.
Wow.
About 250,000 people saw the play while I was doing it, and
So it was there at a local place there.
in London.
London.
In the West End. And, you know, having gone in Southern California, to be able to get invited to go to London and do a play over there, that's pretty special.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Did you have to do any kind of special accent or just your normal?
Yeah, he was supposed to be from, Alabama, and I did a pretty soft Southern
See,
accent.
I do a really good Southern accent.
You do?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I've worked on it for 56 years, and I've got it down pat.
Yeah. Yeah.
A lot of boiled peanuts and sweet tea over the years. You know, it helps
It
ingrain
helps,
the whole thing there.
I didn't go as heavy as like Jeff Daniels did it on, and he went real country. Yeah. I mean, he was almost Foghorn Leghorn, Yeah.
I say son.
Oh yeah, I say boy.
I say boy.
Yeah.
You built too low to the ground. The fast ones go over your head. Sorry. I will get on the rabbit hole. Don't get me started, man. We were talking about the. Excuse me, I just got stopped right there. Talking about the accents and stuff you may have to do in roles. One of the ones that blows my mind. Do you watch Yellowstone?
I do. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
The daughter Beth
Uh-huh.
Dutton. To have the accent she has, have you ever played? She's English.
Oh, you're kidding?
Yes. And
Yeah.
to pull off that accent, everything. I mean, it's not a twangy Southern accent. It's a, American accent. And to pull that off, listen to her character talk about the movie sometime, and it'll blow your mind.
Oh, that
she can pull that off. Yeah. And that's the theater of the mind that you guys pull off.
Yeah, the British are very good at doing accents. So,
they do us better than we do them.
Yeah, and Americans don't really like if Kevin Costner. Remember, he went and did Robin Hood, and he at the beginning of the movie he's kind of doing an English accent, and by the I think the director.
Blimey, old chum.
Everybody says stop doing it. Just be Kevin.
Kind of like Austin Powers, that sort of made up type thing.
Yeah.
All right, looking back through your career, we had stopped at Married to the Mob. Gross Anatomy.
Yeah.
How about that one?
I love Gross Anatomy.
Was that one of your fun ones to do?
Yeah, it was. First of all, I got the opportunity to learn a lot about medicine because when I was training to be an actor, my teacher said you should never say anything that you don't understand. So if you're playing a Marine, you better take steps to understand.
Because you don't want it to be taken that you've done it wrong, like the commercial where the guy's talking about Alabama and he's saying high tide instead of roll tide.
Yeah.
Exactly, because you don't want it to come across as being you're not knowledgeable. Yeah.
Yeah, and if you're talking about medicine and you're working on a cadaver and opening it up, if you don't understand what it is that you're talking about, the way that you say it will sound sketchy.
Yeah.
And so you want to have an understanding of what it is that you're talking about. So this is one of the great things about the job also is that I had to learn about the B-17 in Memphis Belle. I learned Marine Corps training with Art Lee Ermey during Full Metal Jacket. I had to learn a
little, probably the history of the Vietnam War, to make sure you were relevant with it. Yeah.
The advantage I had there was that the war came home. My oldest brother, Mark Jr., went and became a swift boat guy in the Navy. My brother Michael, my sister Elizabeth, my brother Russell, they all participated. My uncle flying 17 combat missions in the Memphis Belle.
My grandfather flew, he was a pilot, but he was on a B-24 crew,
Wow.
The Liberators, yeah.
Wow.
So,
wow.
Yeah, I understand. And to hear them tell those stories, it's not stories. They were there.
Yeah.
And that gave you a great background to that.
Yeah.
Your next, Gross Anatomy, give us kind of the background on this.
Gross Anatomy is about
medical school.
Medical school. It's about in the Gross Anatomy lab. It's about how they overseas to A Cut Above, and I think that was a much better title for the film.
A little better drawing, yeah.
Yeah, Gross Anatomy sounds a little bit like Porky's or something, it's a little bit, gross is a weird word. So, yeah, A Cut Above was much better title. And
I've got some roles here that you either turned down or were offered and it didn't work out, or Porky's you were obviously not, ever.
No,
that wasn't your shtick there. Yeah. We talked about off. I don't think we talked about it on. We talked about off radio about the Michael J. Fox role.
Yeah.
In Back to the Future.
Yeah. So
tell us that scenario.
Yeah. Eric Stoltz was playing the part. They decided they were going to let him go. It wasn't working out, and they took him 24 hours to make a decision. And I thought, well, Spielberg's not directing it; he's just producing. There's Zemeckis. I never heard of him, and I was really curious why they fired Eric from the movie, but when I read the script, I just didn't feel that the role was appropriate for me. And then I found out that Spielberg's first choice was always Michael J. Fox. And as we talked off radio, the thing about, if you think about actors being dogs, Labrador retrievers or pit bulls or Rottweilers or Jack Russell, the role really needed a little Jack Russell that's always ready to chase the ball, always in your face, always, really keen the way Jack Russell is. And I think Eric Stoltz and I were both kind of like puppy Labradors, We just were kind of, it's the wrong temperature for that role. Marty McFly needed to be a guy that was on the front of his foot all the time, leaning in, with the big guy in a fight with. I would have been the same size as
Biff.
that guy.
Yeah,
Biff,
Cannon,
And
that's true. I hadn't thought about that.
Yeah, and he's just a more aggressive person in his life, and his whole demeanor, Michael J. Fox, was perfect for Back to the Future. I don't think anybody could have played that role better than Michael.
The part where Marty, trips Biff, and Biff stands up, and next thing you know, he's a foot taller. He'd have been looking at
Exactly.
Now, how tall are you?
I'm 6'3".
6'3", wow.
Yeah.
Were you a basketball guy too, or just mainly football?
Yeah, and I hated it because at 6'1" in high school.
You're a center.
You're
probably,
always a center, and nobody ever passes you the ball.
They make them a lot taller now for some reason. And even the small high schools now, kids are 6'5" and stuff. I don't know what. I guess it's the hormones in the chicken. I don't know.
Yeah.
But then your next one up was Memphis Belle, which we've talked a little bit about that, but kind of give us from cover to cover a brief synopsis of the whole movie. So
it's a story about the 25th mission of the Memphis Belle, the first plane. So if the combat crew on a B-17,
the Flying Fortress,
could succeed in completing 25 combat missions, they'd be able to go home. They'd let them go because the ability to succeed at getting 25 missions was pretty bad. I think
probably the odds were a little low.
Probably 1 in 5 chance coming back. They were suffering really badly, and so the Memphis Belle was about the first plane to complete 25 missions, and it's an exaggeration. They put 25 things that happened in 25 combat missions in one mission. Yeah. In fact, they say that the 25th mission of the Memphis Belle, because it was so important that they be successful and not get shot out of the sky, they called it a milk run. That they just flew across the English Channel, dropped some bombs, and turned around and came back. Yeah. They avoided all anti-aircraft kind of.
Which was tough in that day.
Yeah.
Flak was everywhere.
Everywhere.
So you learned about flak and things like that, of course.
Yeah.
You know what it was.
Yeah.
Pacific Heights. I'm honestly not as familiar with that one.
Pacific Heights is about a young, in those days when they called people yuppies, and they
So
think
you played a yuppie?
I played a yuppie. Yeah, Melanie Griffith and Michael Keaton is the bad guy. So we buy this house and we're going to rent the apartment, 2 apartments downstairs. We'll live upstairs, be able to cover the mortgage with the rents from the 2 people downstairs. And I think that Michael Keaton looks like a really respectable person, and he turns out to be the tenant from hell. I mean, it sounds like it could be a comedy, but it's a
Sort of dark.
It's a really dark,
comedy, yeah.
dark. It's a almost like a Alfred Hitchcock horror movie.
Yeah. And that's your range. You go from on the streets of Da Nang to yuppie.
Yeah.
You can do it all, man.
Yeah.
And that's the beauty of acting, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, that is to get into the part. And as you touched on before, you don't just radio host. I come here, I get you guys started. My job's easy.
Yeah.
You guys do so much prep work so that it is credible what you're doing.
It's very important.
That you talk about.
Yeah.
Shortcuts.
Shortcuts.
93.
Yeah, that's a Robert Altman movie. He was also the director that did Streamers, which I won the acting award at the Venice Film Festival. Yeah. And so this was another big ensemble movie. Tim Robbins is in the movie. I mean, there's so many actors I can't even say all their names. Really wonderful guy named Fred Ward, who I worked with twice. He's passed away. But it's a story about Los Angeles, and it's a story about relationships, and it's based on Raymond Carver's short stories. So Altman took a whole, like maybe 20 different stories from Raymond Carver's short stories and mixed them all together, and like a fruit,
So it's not a straight plot line.
yeah, like a fruit salad. And so it's a crazy movie. And that movie, we also won the best ensemble at the Venice Film Festival. We won a Golden Globe, best actor, best ensemble, and it was it's a really weird movie, and it's really famous because it was the first movie of Julianne Moore, and Julianne Moore is my wife, and she takes her dress off, and we have people coming over for dinner, and she's not wearing any panties, and she does the whole scene without any clothes on.
Memorable scene.
It's a memorable
Yes,
scene,
yes.
and because we're fighting with each other.
Yeah.
And I said, Marion, you don't have any panties on.
Get your panties on.
Yeah.
Looking at the next one, there's 2 that are coming up: the Browning version, and then I missed it. I had it down here earlier. Cutthroat Island. Both of those around 95.
Yeah, Cutthroat Island was a failure. The movie didn't make money. Now people are discovering the movie and going, "This is a really great pirate movie." This is
So do the royalties still roll in?
No,
They don't.
no.
I didn't know if it, like streaming stuff now. I don't know how all that works.
No,
anymore.
streaming is kind of a buyout. It's just one and so you don't really participate in the success
so
of
it
a
doesn't
film.
continue on.
No, but Cutthroat Island